it shall be the duty of the district attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens.
Marion.
Dame in bed, shot by husband. Now, wait a minute, George. You can't have everything. The motive was revenge. No, George. No society angle. The dame has a police record and her husband is an escaped convict. The cops caught up with him and he tried to shoot his way out. No, I can't interview him, George. Well, for one thing, he's dead. Was she good looking? Not when I got there. Sure, after I give the dope to a rewrite man, I'll look up her picture in the police file. And George, give me one of the younger rewrite men, will you? One that can still hear.
It's a dreadful thing to have happen to one, Mr. District Attorney. You can understand how I feel, can't you?
Yes, Miss Manning, I can. Frankly, I don't understand why you've come to me about this. The newspaper printed your picture by mistake. Now, if you want legal redress, I suggest that you file a civil suit against the newspaper.
Mr. Warren, I've no intention of suing anybody. I don't want any more publicity.
Well, just why have you come here?
To find out where this picture of me came from.
A newspaper man took it from the police files by mistake.
What was it doing there?
Haven't you any idea?
Please, Mr. Warren, I'm not on the stand.
Force of habit, I'm sorry. All I know is that the department received this photograph from the Kansas City police some time ago. Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, it does. A few years ago, I was innocently involved in an accident.
An accident, Miss Manning? I see.
There was a trial, and I was acquitted. That, I believe, makes me innocent of any crime. This mistake has put me in a horrible position. All I wanted was some assurance that such a thing wouldn't happen again. Goodbye, Mr. Warren.
I'm sorry, Miss Manning. I didn't mean to be suspicious. Am I forgiven?
Of course you are.
I'll call the police department and give them some loud advice about carelessness. I don't think they'll make a mistake like this again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warren. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Harrington.
Follow that dame, huh? It'll be a pleasure.
Come back here. I've no reason to tail that girl.
Bet I could dream up a reason, Chief.
Send to Kansas City and ask for their complete file on this. I'll be down in courtroom number 3.
Okay, Chief.
You had a case that was in the bag and you're backing out.
I'm walking out. I asked for a continuance so that you can make other arrangements.
But that'll take time. You already know all the facts of the case.
Yes, I know the facts of the case, including the ones I dug up for myself yesterday.
You had enough evidence.
The evidence that you handed me was nothing but perjured testimony, bought and paid for by yourself.
Well, that's not true.
It's 100% phony, rigged up to cheat the dependents of 22 men who died as a result of criminal negligence in your mill.
I'll take this up with your firm.
Hey, you. What's your name?
Stephen Bennett.
Come up to my office. I want to have a talk with you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Warren.
Don't argue. Come on.
You're marvelous, simply marvelous. You play that thing like it was a piano.
I did play the piano a little bit when I was a kid. I remember murdering Chopin at my high school graduation.
You did? You better not let the DA hear about this. You're very beautiful, honey, but you have no sense of humor.
Sit down, Mr. Bennett. You meet a lot of strange people on your job, don't you, Harrington?
Oh, Oh, they're nice enough folks. A little crooked, maybe.
Well, here's a new experience for you. Says he's a lawyer. Jameson, Watson, Harper, and Bennett, period. He's the one before the period.
What's wrong with him?
He's got ethics. Hear that, Harrington? Ethics.
No kidding. Maybe we better hold him without bail, huh?
I had the impression you were a busy man.
I am, but I want Harrington to hear this. He's a professional cynic. You know that suit against the Milling Corporation, the Longfield case?
Yeah?
Well, it's a job worth $50, maybe $100,000 in fees at this young man's firm. Yet they let him, a junior partner, handle it.
Well, maybe the senior partners don't bother with small change, huh?
Oh, no, Harrington. They let him handle it because the case was a cinch. Jury out 30 minutes, verdict for the defendant. As simple as that. So what does he do? He turns the case down.
Suicide complex. I've seen it before.
And his grounds for turning it down, get this, Harrington, he thinks his client is guilty.
Yeah, but I thought you said he's a lawyer.
Oh, I've had enough of this.
Sit down, sit down.
I don't want to sit down. I was a fool to come in here in the first place.
Mr. Bennett, have I made one statement so far that isn't a fact?
No, but
Well, then why are you mad?
I don't like your sarcasm.
But you did lose your temper.
Yes, that's right. I did
That's
lose
becoming a sucker, Mr. Bennett, for the old attorney's trick of leading you off an important issue by getting your goat.
Lesson number 1. What else would you like to know?
Have you any proof of what you told Longfield out in the hall?
Well, certainly. There were certain phases of the evidence that I didn't quite like, so I investigated and
My
found...
boy, you ought to be stuffed and donated to a museum. Have you got any money?
No,
What will you do, start practicing on your own?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
So, because of some cockeyed sense of justice, you're fool enough to wreck your professional career almost before it's begun.
What's cockeyed about a sense of justice? I've always heard, Mr. Warren, that you were all for giving the little fellow a decent break. But maybe that was just a campaign speech,
I
Mr.
don't mind
Warren.
that. Now, keep your shirt on. How would you like to work on Longfield instead of for him?
What?
From this office. Well, you're out of a job, aren't you?
Well, yes, sure, but
I'll work the pants off you. I'll bully you. I'll bawl you out and I'll call your names. I'll want 100% accuracy and get it. You'll investigate all your own cases and prepare most of mine. You won't get much sleep and you'll eat standing up, and I'll run you so ragged you won't be able to call your soul your own.
He sounds like he's kidding. He ain't.
Think you can take it?
Try me.
Good, and someday maybe I'll make a lawyer out of you. Harrington, shake hands with Steve Bennett, the new assistant DA. This is Harrington, my investigator. He quit thinking 10 years ago.
That's right. One day I said to myself, why do I work for this slave driver? Everything went blank.
Come back in the morning. We'll start right in on the Longfield case. From now on, it's your baby. You said you did some investigating. Was that completely on your own?
Yes, it was.
Good. As long as you don't violate Longfield's confidence, you're in the clear. We'll bring him to trial as soon as we can.
I'd like to see his face when he finds out I'm on the other side of the fence.
Well, that can be arranged. I'll even let you serve the summons in person.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Thanks for everything.
He's thanking you. He'd thank a bartender for slipping him a Mickey.
The financial statement you've just heard covers all the Randolph enterprises except the Marigold Club. And Mr. Barotti reports a turnaway business.
Jameson, how about that suit against my company?
I've assigned Harper to replace Steve Bennett. He's one of the best corporation lawyers in the business.
How is he on criminal cases?
What are you talking about?
Can this be handled, Jameson?
Steve Bennett did some investigating on his own. He might make this stick.
Longfield, I want your resignation immediately.
You can't make me resign just because of some legal trouble.
But don't you realize what this means? If the DA proves criminal negligence, those people will sue for everything we've got and collect.
But you can't walk out on this.
Of course I can't. It's my money that'll be going down the sewer, isn't it? I want your resignation because we can't afford to be connected with this publicly.
All right, you'll have it in an hour.
Good. Gentlemen, I think that'll be all. You might use the private elevator.
Yes, sir?
I'm looking for Mr. Longfield. His office told me I'd find him here.
Ask Miss Manning if Mr. Longfield is here, will you? Yes? There's a gentleman here to see Mr. Longfield. Thank you. Send him in to me, please. Will you see Miss Manning, please?
Thank you.
I'm Mr. Randolph's secretary. You're looking for Mr. Longfield?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Longfield's no longer connected with Randolph Enterprises.
Oh? His office told me I'd find him here.
Oh, he dropped in earlier, but he's not here now.
I see. Well, I'm from the district attorney's office.
I can give you his home address.
Oh, that's all right. I have his home address. I'll catch up with him.
Then why the car?
Oh, that? That's for your personal reference.
Who's that?
Stephen Bennett, Assistant District Attorney. He was looking for Mr. Longfield.
Assistant DA, eh? They don't lose much time. Come into my office. I want to talk to you.
Tired? Stop worrying. It's after business hours. Feeling better?
Much. You're quite right, Marcia. Let's forget about office troubles for tonight. Let's have dinner together at my apartment. Out on the terrace.
No, thank you.
Marcia, how long are you going to hold out on me?
How long are you going to hold out on me?
I thought you said it was after business hours.
Sorry, Jim. But you see, to me, love is a luxury. Something to forget about until I have security and can afford it.
You sound like an investment broker.
I suppose you want me to be romantic, like the songs about living on love and pale moonlight. That's all nonsense, Jim.
Seems to work all right for some women.
I know how it works. My mother tried it. When I was a kid, I saw her waste her life fighting hunger and poverty. By the time she was 35, she was an old woman, left with nothing. Except, of course, pale moonlight. But that's not going to happen to me, Jim. That's why I want money and the security that comes with marriage. Then I can afford the luxury of love. Sorry if I sound hard-boiled. I may as well be honest with you.
I've no objection. On the contrary, I wonder whether you are hard-boiled enough to...
To what?
To be my wife. You're clever, Marcia, and you're beautiful, but I want much more than that in the woman I marry.
Such as?
I'm shooting for the top. I want a wife who's willing to do anything necessary to help me get there. There are times when business deals need, well, let's call it a woman's touch.
I think I know what you mean.
Because I may not get there. In a couple of months, I may be flat broke.
Charge against Longfield?
Yes.
I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Why not? I'm in a tough spot.
I know that. But I think I know what's needed to get you out of it.
Yes?
May take a little time.
What is it?
The woman's touch.
Don't waste it, Murphy.
Okay, Spike.
Yeah, right, guys, Spike. Hand your trowel.
Thanks, Spike.
Yeah.
Take a look, everybody. You're all covered.
And in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me remind you that the state has proved beyond any reasonable doubt that these men committed armed robbery. And I ask you to hand down the maximum penalty possible under the criminal code of this state.
This just came to the office for you.
Your Honor, there's one other thought I would like to leave with the jury. I believe that these defendants deserve special consideration because nothing has been brought up here, except the charges against them, to question the fact that they are good and honest citizens, because they have committed no previous offense in this city, and because they're family men who have loved ones at home anxiously awaiting their return to the bosoms of their families.
I object, Your Honor. Counsel's remarks are out of order at this time. One of the men in the office has been working on that case that I was telling you about, trying to get the dope on that fellow. It seems that he didn't have 2 wives. He had 3.
Oh, what'll happen to the woman?
Self-defense. Greg will see that she gets a break. Do you know what you and I are going to do this afternoon?
No. What?
Well, what does anybody do on a Saturday afternoon? Go to the ball game.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Telephone message.
Thank you.
Bad news?
Yes. Looks like you're going to have to go to the ball game by yourself. I'll tell you what. I'll try and join you there before it's over. Check, please.
Valentine, your son was released on parole for the 3rd time last week, and within 24 hours was picked up on a similar charge, criminal assault. And you asked me to go easy on him.
But, Craig, I helped to swing your election. I'm chairman of the
What do you mean? Trying to pull politics in this office. Get out of here. Valentine ought to be in that cell, not his son.
Did you want to see me about something, boss?
I certainly did. This outline of your case against Longfield wouldn't convict him if he confessed. Now get out to that factory district and start rooting out some more witnesses.
Now?
Right now.
Oh. You wouldn't want to go to... No, I don't suppose you would.
Hi, Steve. How's everything down the salt mine?
Now, you know what I found today? An honest man.
I don't believe it.
Yep, he's honest and incorruptible. Quite unique.
You ought to exhibit him.
I will, on the witness stand at the Longfield trial. His testimony's going to break that case wide open.
Well, that's wonderful, Steve. Who is this honest type?
For the moment, that's top secret.
Oh, sorry. What's on the schedule for this evening?
Well, I've got to stop by the office and tell Craig what I found out. Then I thought we'd go someplace for dinner, and after that...
Oh, Steve, let's not fight our way through a crowded restaurant tonight. Let's stay here. I want to prove to you I can cook.
No, it sounds great, but I'm afraid the boss is waiting for my report.
We'll call him up and tell him about it. Well, at least give it a try. On a long chance, I'll go in the kitchen and start dinner while you make your call.
Okay, fair enough. Hello, Craig? Yeah. Say, I found a fella who can give us all the dope we need. Mill was unsafe, fire hazards ignored everything. Yes, his name is Stanley Blake, lives out on Edgeware Road. Used to work at the mill. Boss, I think we've got Longfield right where we want him. Yeah. Well, I'll get it all down paper and bring it to you in the morning? Fine, swell. See you then. Good night. Your Honor, the next and last witness for the prosecution was to have been Mr. Stanley Blake, whose strange disappearance I have already reported. So far, all our efforts to locate him have failed. As he is vital to our case, I move, therefore, for a continuance of these proceedings while a search for him is continued.
Your Honor, the state has already been granted 2 delays in order to produce this witness. These delays are most unfair to my client, and I urge that no further continuance be granted.
The court has been more than lenient in conceding your previous request, Mr. Bennett. For this reason, I am going to deny your motion and direct you to proceed with your case.
State rests.
Proceed with the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there anything in that book that says a detective can't have good manners?
I got manners.
Well, then take your feet off my desk and take off that hat.
Honey, I like you too much to act polite around you. Well, gee, I would have taken it off. Why didn't you tell me a funeral procession was going to go through here? How'd it go, Chief?
Great. Longfield should have gotten 20 years, so the boy prosecutor here nails him for 90 days on a minor charge.
Well, 3 months is 3 months.
It is, eh? Well, he couldn't even prove that.
Oh, lay off. Chief, you know I couldn't have anticipated Blake's disappearance.
Why not? Having a key witness bribed or intimidated is nothing new.
Yeah, but nobody outside of you and me knew about him.
Whoever got rid of him knew about him.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know how else I could have handled it.
Oh, you don't, eh? Well, I'll tell you how I'd have handled it. I would have taken him into protective custody, kept him under guard until he took the stand. In this racket, you got to think of every angle. And I know what I'm talking about.
The chief ought to know what he's talking about, Steve. The same thing happened to him 2 years ago on the Ferris case.
Well, I recall no such incident.
Gee, you mean you forgot? Well, I could get the file.
No, never mind. Forget about it. Let's go back to work. We'll tackle the Murdoch case tonight. Maybe it'll take my mind off of this. 90 days.
Oh, couldn't we forget about that, too, Chief, just for tonight? You see, I got a date.
A date? A date?
Could be. He's been acting very peculiar lately. He's only been working down here 6 nights a week instead of 7.
Who is she?
Oh, why don't you come to dinner with us and find out for yourself? Oh, come on. You're more overworked than any of us. It'll do you good.
What do you think, Harrington?
Chief, I think you should close the office at least 1 night a month. It's only fair to the mice.
I'm sorry about the way the trial went today, Steve.
Yes, I took quite a beating.
It wasn't your fault.
That's not what the DA thinks.
What does he think about all the cases you've won?
Well, up until today, he's been rather complimentary.
What did he say?
Well, he said with a little luck and his advice, I might be able to call myself a lawyer in about 10 years.
He means that with a little luck and you doing all the work, he may become governor.
You're wrong about Craig, Marcia. You'll see what I mean tonight. He's joining us for dinner.
He is?
Yes, I wanted you to meet him.
I think I have met him.
Oh, really? Where?
I can't quite remember where. Probably at the office.
Oh.
Well, hello, Steve.
Hello, Craig. Sit down.
Is this where you spend all your time?
Yeah. Marcia tells me that you two have already met.
Yes, that's right. So you're the young lady that's been undermining law and order by taking Steve's mind from his work.
You're exaggerating, Mr. Warren.
Well, not if today was any example.
It wasn't his fault the man disappeared.
It is if he got careless with confidential information.
Oh, but that's impossible. Who could I have tipped off?
I don't know.
Oh, have a drink, Craig?
No, thanks. Drinking makes me talkative, and I end up by saying a lot of things that I regret in the morning.
I'll have one. I have nothing to conceal.
Nor have I.
Do the same, please.
Yes, sir. You know, you two are unusual. I have a theory that most people have some dark little secret hidden in the past.
That theory is based on the kind of citizens that you meet up with in your office.
Yes, maybe it does just apply to people I meet in my office.
They can't all be guilty, Mr. Warren.
Good evening. You wish to order dinner, sir?
Thanks. Good idea.
Steve, I just got a call before I left.
Oh, you don't mean to tell me you're leaving already? Is this your idea of taking a night off?
Well, it can't be helped. Don't let it spoil your fun.
It won't.
Good night, Steve.
See you tomorrow, Craig. Like him?
But I'd rather not share you with anyone tonight.
Oh, Chief, I didn't expect you back.
You remember a couple of months ago we sent to Kansas City for a file, a girl named Marcia Manning?
Why, sure, it's been here for weeks. Didn't know you needed it.
Neither did I.
Do you need me any more tonight?
No, you can both go.
Here you are, sir.
Thank you.
Say, how's about you and me stopping down the corner for a sandwich and then maybe taking a nice long bus ride somewhere?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. My doctor told me to avoid any undue excitement.
This is what I like. The simple life.
Me too.
We ought to do this every Sunday. As a matter of fact, I'm planning to draw a circle around this tree and buy the spot.
That'd be fun. I've never owned a tree. Or anything else worth mentioning, for that matter.
Well, if you really believe that, you ought to take a look in a mirror.
Oh, thank you, sir. I don't often get compliments like that in broad daylight.
I don't often feel like this in broad daylight. And since we're buying a spot, I think the next thing to do is to build a house on it.
Good idea.
And get married and live in it.
You sound as if you're proposing. Must be the country air.
I'm serious, Marcia. Will you marry me?
Steve, you sound so conventional.
It may sound that way, but there's nothing conventional about how I feel.
Don't know how to answer. Just never thought about marrying.
It's not what you think, it's what you feel. Do you love me? Do you want me around?
Yes, I do, Steve. I do want you around.
I'll go downtown tomorrow and take care of the details.
No, Steve. I'm so mixed up. You'll have to give me time to think.
About what?
Well, it's just that I'm afraid.
Oh, forget it.
I can't, Steve. There's always fear involved in having something that can hurt you. Should you lose it?
Oh, you'll never lose me.
I don't want to, Steve. That's the only thing I'm sure of now. I never want to lose you.
these silly detectives.
Where's Steve?
He hasn't come in yet.
Hasn't come in yet. It's after 2 o'clock.
But it is Sunday.
What's that got to do with it? Call his apartment. Tell him I want to see him.
Yes, sir.
And tell him to wear his catcher's mask, too.
What kind of an outfit is that? This is no country club.
Believe it or not, I've been on a picnic.
Steve, you're falling down on the job. Too many outside interests.
Oh, wait a minute, Chief. I've let you down once in 4 months. That's not a bad batting average.
What about those Murdoch depositions? You were supposed to be working on them this morning.
I did them last night. What's on your mind?
Steve, you're the best assistant I've ever had. You've got that way by one thing only, a single-minded devotion to your work. But lately you've been distracted by, well, by this young woman.
Oh. Oh, so it's Marcia.
How much does she really mean to you?
I've asked her to marry me.
Is she going to?
Right now, she's... Well, I guess it was kind of sudden. However, the case has been submitted, and the prosecution feels confident of the outcome.
It won't work, Steve. You get married, and your wife starts complaining about your not coming home nights. You tell her the truth, and she doesn't believe you. You get to worrying and neglecting your work, and the first thing you know, you lose one case, and then you lose another. And finally, I bounce you right out of here.
Oh, so that's it. It isn't Marcia that you object to. It's just that you're so fanatically wrapped up in this office that you've lost all sense of human values. Why don't you come right out and say so?
Why, it's not that, Steve. It's just that she's... Well, I just don't think that she's the right girl for you.
Now, you listen to me, Craig. You can have every second of my time when I'm here on the job, but nobody's going to dominate my private life. If that's what you're trying to do, I quit.
Steve, maybe you're right. Maybe I do take this job too seriously. I didn't really mean to stick my nose in your private life.
Oh, that's all right, boss. I'm kind of glad we got it off our chests. Just so you understand how I feel about it.
I want you to know why I've taken such an interest in you. I thought that someday when I stepped down that maybe you'd sort of take my place and...
Thanks, Craig. And don't worry about me.
Good. Now, we've got to get going on that Androdini case. I want you to find his ex-wife and bring her back here for the trial. Otherwise, we'll never be able to establish a motive.
Why don't you send Harrington for her?
Well, because when you find her, it may be difficult to convince her to come here.
Oh.
And then there's the business of negotiating the extradition, arranging for the passports, the transportation...
Wait a minute. Where is this gal?
Oh, I forgot to mention it. She's back in Rome.
Rome, Italy?
Yes.
Oh.
But what do you want to do? Lose the case because there's too much trouble to make a little trip?
Well, it's not that, but... Okay. Okay, I'll start making my plans. I should say changing some of them.
Good evening, Miss Manning.
Hello. Come in. This is a surprise.
Yes, I don't make many social calls these days.
Heard from Steve?
No, but I want to talk to you about him. I'm a little worried about you and Steve.
Isn't that outside the jurisdiction of the district attorney's office?
Well, this is personal, not official. I became curious about your photograph being in the police file, so I checked back with Kansas City.
Did you have to rake that up? Haven't I been persecuted enough because of that accident?
I've studied the coroner's report and the circumstances under which the body was found. I find it difficult to believe the death was accidental.
I was acquitted, wasn't I?
That doesn't alter certain facts. At the time he died, you were not just his private secretary.
I can't prevent a man from falling in love with me.
You demanded a large payment when he refused to divorce his wife. That you could have prevented.
I was entitled to it.
Perhaps. The same night that he gave you the check, he learned that his wife knew about the whole thing. That meant that he had no reason to pay off. If it hadn't have been for his accident the next morning, he might have stopped payment.
I told you I was declared innocent.
Yes, by an all-male jury. A transcript of the trial wouldn't satisfy a legal mind. Not a mind like Steve's.
You're using this to make me give him up because you're afraid I'll keep him from working 7 days and nights a week.
I want you to give him up, but that's not the reason. Steve is a brilliant young man, and he'll go a long way, but not if he's married to you. Your record would be too big a handicap for him.
And what if I love him?
If you love him, you'll give him up for his sake. Now, Steve won't be back for a couple of months,
You
and...
arranged that neatly, didn't you?
I didn't arrange anything. He's got a job to do. It will give you a chance to forget Steve. If you agree, there's no reason for him to know anything about the Kansas City affair.
Having Steve means ruining his career. I guess I'll have to give him up.
Don't feel too badly about it. A lot can happen in a couple of months.
Perhaps you're right.
Good night, Miss Manning.
Hello, Jim. Fine. What time are we leaving Friday?
This whole traffic mess is confined to my precinct, the Westgate district.
Captain, I've got no time to worry about traffic problems. Pardon me. I thought I sent you down to meet that boat.
That's right. I just came from there.
Well, where's Steve?
He's dropping his stuff off at his apartment. He said he'd see you in a couple of hours.
Sorry, where were we, George?
In Westgate. It doesn't make sense, Mr. Warren. All of a sudden, there are more accidents and traffic jams in this one district than all the rest of the city put together.
What kind of traffic jams?
Like yesterday, a truck broke down at the corner of 4th and Westgate during the rush hour. It took 50 minutes to straighten it out.
Any increase in fires or crime in the district?
A few people have been roughed up, nothing out of the ordinary.
How far does this crosstown highway project extend?
It ends here, just short of the Westgate district.
Okay, George, I'm glad you brought this to my attention. I'll put Steve Bennett to work on it right away.
Thanks, Mr. Warren.
So long, boys.
Bye, Mr. Warren.
2 hours to drop off a couple of suitcases. 3 months to dig up one witness. Well, what did Steve do with her?
Well, he turned her over to me, and I turned her over to the matron.
So what if she didn't die of old age?
Well, after all, Chief, Steve had to search half the cities in Italy to find that dame.
Couldn't find her, eh? Well, what about today? I don't suppose he can find his own apartment.
Why, sure, but when a man's been away 3 months, maybe he figures he's entitled to a couple of hours to catch up on his personal life.
Going somewhere, Mrs. Randolph?
Steve. How long have you been back?
Since this morning. I went up to your office. The new girl there told me that you'd married the boss. I guess a guy with enough money can buy anything.
Steve.
You did all right for yourself, too, didn't you?
Steve, I'm sorry.
When I asked you to marry me, you said you were afraid of something. Now I know what it was. You were afraid I couldn't give you all of this.
But it wasn't me I was thinking about. It was you. Yes, it was, Steve. Craig Warren said he was planning big things for you, and I was just...
Craig? What's he got to do with this?
Steve, there's something about me you don't know. A long time ago in Kansas City, a man was killed in an accident, and I was implicated. I was acquitted, of course, but it was one of those things that could be dragged up at any time and used against me. And used against you if I were your wife, if someone wanted to discredit you.
Did Craig Warren know about this Kansas City thing?
Of course. That's why he... Steve, I had to give you up. There's nothing else I could do.
So that's how he worked it.
Where are you going? Hello, Steve. How was the trip?
Just great.
Well, Steve, I'm glad to see you back. We've missed you around here.
Here's my report. I've turned your witness over to Harrington. Here's the last thing you're ever going to get from me, my resignation.
What's the matter with you? Have you gone crazy?
You know that Marcia married Randolph?
Well, yes, I heard it, but what's this talk about
You know
quitting?
why she married Randolph, Craig? Because you talked her out of marrying me. That's why you sent me out of town.
What are you talking about? That trip was part of your job.
Did you go to Marcia and tell her to forget about me?
Well, if I did, I was only
Did
thinking...
you?
Yes, but I had a reason. I didn't want you to...
I know all about Marcia, including that Kansas City thing. And no matter what you found out about her, you should have come to me with it. Instead of that, you went behind my back and frightened her into thinking that some cheap tabloid publicity might ruin my career.
There's more to it than publicity.
I don't care about details. You had no business to interfere. I told you once to keep out of my private life or I was through. All right, I'm through.
Now, Steve. Steve, listen to me. I was only thinking of your future.
I know what you were thinking of. of Craig Warren, the great DA. You thought with a little luck and a dope like me to do all the work, you might become governor.
And you really believe that?
You proved it, didn't you? And now you've got the gall to ask me to walk back into it. Oh, no, not me. You can get yourself another sucker. From now on, I'm working for Steve Bennett.
Brian Water. Yes, sir. It's on him.
Thanks. I buy my own.
Don't get sore, pal. I just thought you'd like to have a drink with a friend.
I see the drink. Where's the friend?
Maybe you got a couple of friends you ain't figured on.
Maybe I got a couple I figured on that ain't friends.
Have it your own way, pal. But if by any chance you was looking for a job, I could steer you to the right spot.
Thanks. Why don't you go peddle your fish somewhere else?
Okay, pal. But think it over. Maybe you'll change your mind.
Beat it.
Hello, Steve.
Ah, Mr. Jameson.
Were you looking for me by any chance?
Why should I be looking for you?
Well, I heard you'd left the DA, and I thought...
I'm up here to see Randolph.
Randolph?
Yes. You still represent him?
In some matters, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, did Randolph send for you?
Yeah.
And that will leave the club a nice net profit for the month of 22,000...
Excuse me. Yes? Send him in. Steve Bennett.
I don't like this idea of yours.
It's not my idea, it's Marcia's, and she's never been wrong yet. Glad to see you, Bennett. You know Mr. Brody?
I've been in his club. Your public relations man dropped a card in my lap. What's it all about?
I had a business proposition in mind. Sit down.
There was a note on the back of it.
Yes, I know.
Just how does your wife fit into this?
Well, she told me you'd left the DA's office.
So what?
My business is expanding. I've got a lot of legal work.
You've got Jameson.
Too much for him to handle. I thought I could turn over the surplus cases to your office.
What office? Unless you mean that saloon that your stooge found me in.
Well, there's an office available right here in my building. Why don't you set up in practice there?
I couldn't pay the man to print my name on the door.
Of course, I should expect to pay you a substantial retainer in advance. And you can take any other clients you wish. I realize this is a little abrupt. Why don't you come for dinner tonight? There'll be some other people there, but we can slip away long enough to discuss it further. Marcia's very anxious to see you, too.
What time?
About 8.
See you then.
Good.
I don't like it. He'll make trouble.
Suppose you let me handle this, Perotti. By the way, your little note worked. Steve Bennett came to see me today.
Oh?
He's coming to dinner tonight.
Good.
You know, Marcia, I'm not sure I like this idea of yours.
Really? Why?
Well, for one thing, he used to be with the DA's office.
Don't worry about that. I can handle Steve.
You guarantee that?
Certainly. He's in love with me.
I see.
Don't be silly, darling. If I'd wanted him, I wouldn't have married you. Did he like the proposition?
I don't know. I'm not sure I care.
You need a lawyer like Steve, and you need him badly.
I prefer Jameson. His passions are confined to brandy and golf.
And self-preservation. Jameson's a frightened man, Jim. He's dangerous.
The pressure's on him at the moment. He'll be all right when it eases up.
Don't be so sure. He may crack before the pressure's off, and then we're through.
He may crack if he thinks we're moving Steve Bennett into the setup. No, Marcia. I don't think we can use Bennett. Don't worry. I'll watch Jameson.
You know, a guy could get sick of this Westgate if he stayed here long enough. And I've stayed here long enough.
This is where the trouble is. We're going to stick around until we see some of it happen.
Haven't we got enough trouble without going out looking for it?
Stay here and don't let anything bother you.
Come on, get going, will you?
Pipe down.
You wanted trouble. You got us.
Take a look, will you?
Oh, it's jammed solid all the way up to the next block.
Hey, Murphy, put on your red lights and go around this line.
I'm an American citizen. When I want to sell, I sell. And if I don't, you can't make me.
We've been treating you pretty nice, Lance. Next time, we might not be so nice. We'll be seen soon.
Get that guy out of here, will you?
Come on. Follow that car.
They come out of that pawn shop there.
Let's see what they were up to.
I think you'll be all right.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Mr. Warren.
Yes, how'd you make out?
I'm sorry we lost them, Mr. Warren. They skidded and crashed and then ducked into traffic in Bremer Street.
What about the car?
It's a hot heap. I checked it. Nothing to trace there.
That's no help. Stand by in the car. I want to talk to this man.
Okay.
I tell you, Randolph, the traffic situation in Westgate is absolutely intolerable.
It certainly is, and we ought to do something about it. All of us here tonight have property interest in Westgate.
I was just wondering if it's possible to persuade the city to extend that new highway through Westgate.
It will send property values sky high.
Highway won't eliminate the lawlessness that's broken out from Westgate.
Might. Remember, poverty breeds lawlessness. If real estate values go up, the whole character of the district will change.
Yes, that's a good point.
That's been my contention right along.
Poverty disappears, so does crime.
Well, that's true.
Randolph, I've got to talk to you. It can't wait.
We can go out on the terrace.
Good evening, Mr. James.
Good evening. Then their car overturned. The police shot at them, but they got away.
Then there's nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. This isn't traffic court stuff. It's criminal activity, and I won't be connected with it.
Not so loud.
They're asking for you inside. Mr. Jameson, how are you this evening? I'm sorry I didn't see you when you came in.
Now, if we all agree, we can present our case unanimously.
Fine idea.
Oh, Randolph, we were just discussing putting our case before the Board of Supervisors.
Excellent idea. And if any of us have any contacts among the board members, we might back up our petition with a little behind-the-scenes pressure.
Well, I play golf with the chairman of the board. I imagine if I lost to him next Saturday, he might see this thing our way.
It was a lovely dinner, Mrs. Randolph.
Thank you.
Marcia, I thought you were on the terrace.
I was. Mr. Jameson asked me to bring him a brandy. He's not feeling well.
In that case, I'll go with you.
It's Jameson.
We took a drink out to him, and the terrace was empty.
I looked down. His body's lying on the drive. I'll call the police.
And that is the plan I had in mind, Mr. Lance, if you will cooperate. Will you do it? My son, you understand? He didn't let no Nazis and no fascists push him around. And I'll fight back, too. Good. Looks like this is our break at last.
Mr. Warren, there's been an accident in the Avondale Apartments. A lawyer named Jameson took a nosedive off the balcony.
Ed Jameson? I think I'll look into this personally. I'll see you later, Mr. Lance. Come on, Harrington.
Steve. What are you doing here? I was having dinner upstairs at the Randolphs.
Is that where he was?
Yes.
How did it happen? Mr. Jameson seemed distressed. He asked my wife to take him some brandy out to the terrace. I went with her and he was gone.
What was he distressed about?
He didn't say. He just asked for the brandy.
Were you alone with him at the time?
Steve, do I have to?
Mrs. Randolph is too upset to answer any questions tonight.
Just what is your interest in this, Steve?
I'm Mrs. Randolph's attorney.
I see. Well, I'll let it go. For tonight. The next time you step into a dead man's shoes, Steve, let the body cool off first. It looks better that way.
Open for business? Can't you be a little more friendly?
That's not exactly what your husband is paying me for.
You think he can buy anything, don't you? Well, he can't, because I'm still in love with you.
Sure, I know. That's why you married Randolph.
You know I married him because I thought I couldn't have you.
Well, nice office you have here, Steve. Fully equipped with filing cabinets, water cooler, and the boss's wife.
I'm hardly part of the equipment here, Mr. Warren.
Well, one of the fixtures, shall we say?
I'll get this straight, Craig. Randolph is not my boss. I'm in practice for myself.
Oh, you paid for all this. Well, it's amazing how much a man can save on an assistant DA's salary.
I'm off that payroll now. And my time is no longer at your disposal.
Well, I won't be long. I was just wondering about Jameson. Do you mind my mentioning him, or are you still too upset?
What about Jameson?
Well, I was just considering the possibility that he jumped from the terrace before Mrs. Randolph went inside.
Oh, sure. And she figured that after an 8-story drop, he'd need a nice stiff drink.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the drink. You wouldn't deliberately waste all that good brandy, would you, Mrs. Randolph? You know, I'm interested in the fact that Jameson was upset when he arrived. Did he mention what was worrying him?
No.
I wonder if it could have been that shooting incident in Westgate.
I don't get the connection.
Well, his office was defending some of those Westgate traffic cases.
You're reaching for straws, Craig. You have no proof of anything.
Well, that's quite true. It's like a case in Kansas City I read about. There was no proof there either.
Bringing that up won't work. Not again.
If you have any more questions to ask, you can swear out a warrant.
All right, Steve. The case isn't closed, though. It will all add up someday.
You handled him beautifully, Steve.
I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask you, Marcia.
Oh, stop it, darling. You sound just like Craig Warren.
Is that what you came up here for?
Not exactly. I came to ask you a question.
Go ahead, ask.
You answered it when you kissed me. The question was, do you still love me? The answer? Yes.
For the reasons outlined, the defendant is charged with willfully creating a public disturbance by parking his truck in the middle of a busy intersection in Westgate.
Your Honor, I object to the proceedings. Even if my client was guilty of illegal parking as charged, this case belongs in the traffic court. I don't deny that the incident created a traffic snarl, as Mr. Warren claims. But what I do affirm on my client's behalf is that there was nothing willful about his actions.
Of course it was willful. The truck was in good working condition.
That's true. But as he crossed that intersection, this driver heard a woman scream for help. He left his truck and went into the building from which the scream came.
I object, Your Honor. There is no evidence to prove that a woman screamed.
And there is no evidence to prove that a woman did not. It's impossible to think of convicting a man because, however mistakenly, he tried to rescue a woman that was in trouble.
Mr. Warren, I'm afraid I shall have to recommend that the matter be referred to traffic court for further disposition. Case dismissed.
Congratulations.
On what?
Securing acquittal for guilty men.
As a lawyer, it's my job to defend my clients to the best of my ability.
You know what's behind these traffic incidents, Steve? Half the real estate in Westgate has changed hands the past few months.
So what?
Well, somebody is forcing real estate values down with one hand and buying property up with the other, working through phony corporations. If the highway extension goes through, that somebody stands to make $1 million.
Well, there's no law against that.
Unless it's made dishonestly.
We've developed a very bad habit lately, Craig. Making statements without proof to back them up. Sorry I'm late. Just got out of court.
How'd it go?
Case dismissed.
Good.
I don't know whether it's good or not. I don't think we're fooling the DA very much.
We may not be fooling him, but we're moving too fast for him. The board votes on the highway extension tomorrow, Steve. After that, I start selling, dissolve the whole setup. There'll be nothing left for the DA to investigate, except his conscience.
Which can stand some investigating.
Steve, there's another little piece of property I want to pick up. Owned by a pawnbroker named of Peter Lance.
So?
He's just about ready to do business. Make out the contract for the sale.
What is this?
A contract for the sale of this property. This is the last visit, Lance. Sign or else.
Let me take a poke at the old goat.
My friend here is looking for some exercise. So make with a pen or he'll get it.
I don't sell. That's all. Put up your hands.
Francis, one of Barati's boys. The old gent is dead.
We're leaving up for him. Start talking, Francis. You've only got minutes left. Who's behind this?
The cops got that other mug. He doesn't know anything.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I remember him. He's some ape that'll do anything for $50, no questions asked.
Take him in and slap a murder charge on him.
Okay. Hey, this character looks sick, huh?
Yes, he died before I could get him to name the boss. Not that I don't know the answer.
A big gun battle in Westgate. Read all about it. 2 dead in Westgate. Extra, extra. Big gun battle in Westgate. 2 dead in Westgate.
Hey, boy.
Thanks. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Big gun battle in Westgate. 2 dead in Westgate. 2 killed in Westgate. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Big gun battle.
Tell the boss the DA just went in.
He forgot to mention me. Name is Harrington.
In here. Want something, Jack?
Barotti.
He ain't in.
I'll see for myself.
Hey, you can't go.
Oh, Mr. Warren. This is a great pleasure.
So I gathered from the welcoming committee.
Oh, relax, chum. I just frisked your monkey out there and picked myself up a souvenir.
Oh, he didn't know you. Sometimes we have quite a lot of money lying around here.
Better get yourself a new boy, Barotti. One with brains. On second thought, you better get yourself 2 new boys.
2 new?
Guy named Franzen. Never hear of him?
So what? I'm running a respectable business here. If Franzen gets in trouble...
But he was working for you, Barotti.
What Franzen does on his night off is not Barotti's business.
And whose business is it? Randolph's, the guy you pay off to?
You are a smart man. You know all the answers.
Nearly all. Franzen supplied them. Yes, Barotti, he gave me the lowdown before he kicked off and signed it. I'm carrying a ticket for 70,000 volts for somebody, and I don't care particularly who it burns. Think it over.
How do I know this is true?
It's a telephone. You just pick it up and say hello.
Must be a wrong number. It's my private line, only for outgoing calls.
Uh-huh. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, he's here.
I don't know.
It's for you, Chief.
Yeah? You have? Already? Thanks, Lieutenant. I think that about does it. Stop kidding yourself, Barotti. We know all there is to know about you, starting with your private telephone number and going on from there. Now talk deal and talk fast to take the rap for your boss.
What do you want?
Randolph, I want all the dope you have. Concrete evidence.
What do I get out of this?
Your life for his. I'll trade you, Barotti. Because from where I sit, your operations are small-time stuff compared to Randolph's.
Well, I got papers, Randolph's signature, everything, but in safety box in bank. I can't get them out till the morning.
I can wait. I'll pick you up at 9:30 sharp, and don't try to pull anything, because I'm supplying you with a bodyguard for the night.
That's one unhappy saloon keeper we just left, huh?
There's nothing to do now but to sit back and wait for the old double-cross.
Double-cross?
Right. And it looks as if it might start sooner than I thought. Call up headquarters and have a man assigned to tail Barotti. I'm going in and watch the floor show.
Yeah, but the floor show don't start till midnight.
That's what you think.
We have music, we're in love. And he says, well, what?
We're alone, we have music. Period.
Let's not fool ourselves, darling. I want you, Steve.
And what you want, you get.
Does that alarm you? After all, I'm not so hard to take.
No, you're not. Maybe if you were, all this would be easier. You want it straight, Marcia? All right, I'm crazy about you. I always have been. I'm working for Randolph, and you're married to him, so...
And if I weren't?
Still no dice.
No? I wonder. I've gotten some of the things I wanted, Steve, but the ones I thought were important weren't. I know that now, and as long as I...
Mind if I join you?
Yes, I mind very much. Excuse me.
Well, what's on your mind?
Ever hear of Peter Lance, Steve?
What about him?
He was killed early this evening. Murdered by a cheap hood named Franzen. Franzen's dead too, but that doesn't help Lance. So I'm going after the head man, the one who promoted it all.
Who?
Randolph.
Ah, if you're so sure about it, why don't you?
I'll pick him up later. I wanted to give you a chance first to get out from under. He's guilty, Steve, and you're not defending him. Not if I have to slap you into jail to stop you.
Why this sudden interest in me?
Well, call it sentiment, old times.
We'll skip that. Randolph know all this? About you wanting him?
He can add. I told Barotti, and he sent for him in a hurry. Watch your step, Steve.
Jim may be tied up for a while. Let's dance. I said, let's dance.
Marcia, there's something I have to do, and the sooner I do it, the better.
Where are you going?
That's my business.
Are you going after Warren?
What if I were?
Don't, Steve. Please don't. If you're with him and anything happened to him,
I got a message to you from Mr. Randolph. He says some business came up and wants you to see that Mrs. Randolph gets home okay.
Where is he?
I wouldn't know.
Steve.
I sent one of my boys to take you home safe.
Keep your boy. I'll get home safe the easy way. Alone.
Well, he's bound to go home sooner or later. Be sure they don't miss Barotti. And we're both washed up. That's all.
Hey, Steve. It's you. Call it off, Jim.
Call what off?
Quit stalling. Call off Barotti.
What's troubling you? You're losing your nerve?
I didn't figure on homicide, especially Craig Warren's. Come on, get on that phone and tell Barotti to lay off. Get on that phone.
What is it you want, Steve? A cut? Or is it Marcia? Name it. Go ahead. Name it.
All I want is for you to get on.
You idiot! I had him right where I wanted him, and you come blundering in and wreck the whole plan.
I got him first, that's all.
That's all, is it? All you've done is pin a murder rap on yourself for no reason at all. Give me that gun. Boy, has that dame played you for a sucker. What's been keeping you?
I've been down to the coroner's office.
If it isn't asking too much, where were you when my skull was getting pounded?
Well, I tried to tell you last night, Chief, when you came to, but the quack said... I'm sorry, Doc. The doctor said you had to have quiet.
All right, let's hear the alibis.
Well, after you left the Marigold Club, I'm waiting around for the Flatfoot to arrive and take over. But before he comes, Barotti pulls a sneak.
Did you follow him, or was the house setting up a free drink?
Well, sure I followed him to Randolph's office building.
Yeah? Go ahead.
Well, it seems there's a side door to that building that I don't know about. Opens on a private elevator.
And you lost him?
I run around to the front entrance, beat it up to Randolph's office, and find you two sharing the floor.
And what about Barotti?
Disappeared. And I said to myself, brother, you're out of a job. Somebody has croaked the DA.
I never knew you were so sentimental.
Oh, yeah. Very sentimental. Then I got an ambulance, but before they took you away, you came to long enough to tell me to send out an alarm for Steve Bennett.
And did you?
Sure. Every cop in town is looking for him.
Thank you, Doctor.
Better take it easy for a while.
I'll try. What did the coroner find?
Randolph had a .25 caliber slug in him. Nothing serious.
Oh, no. It only killed him.
No. He died of acute traumatosis of the cerebellum, commonly known as hole in the head. The coroner said Randolph cracked his skull when he fell.
Very interesting. Come in.
Later on.
That's the first intelligent thing you've done in months.
Sorry I poked you last night, Craig.
You'd have saved yourself a lot of trouble if you hadn't.
Yes, I know.
What made you come to your senses?
Figured I might as well face it.
Why did you do it, Steve?
Self-defense.
The press is going crazy out here. They want a statement on Steve.
I'll give them an interview in an hour. Until then, no comment. Come on, we're going up to Randolph's office. You too, Steve.
Why don't you lock me up and get it over with?
I'm not ready for that yet. First, I want to find out how this self-defense claim of yours holds up. All right, now show me where you were.
I was standing right about here, and Randolph was by the drawer.
All right, Hank, get over there. Everything exactly as it was?
Yes, only, well, the desk doesn't look quite right.
What's the desk got to do with it? Show me what happened.
Well, we were arguing, and,
What about?
He was planning to knock you off, Craig. I told him to switch his signals, or...
Oh, so that's it. All right, go ahead.
Grabbed the gun out of the desk drawer. I got my shot in first.
What gun?
Are you sure he had a gun, Steve?
Well, I ought to remember it. It was pointed at me.
Well, the cops didn't find a gun last night, and I sure don't see one here now.
You may have trouble proving self-defense, Steve.
Yes, except we dug a bullet out of that cabinet over there.
Well, that may explain the shot I heard last night after Steve hit me.
Cops figured it was fired from the desk.
If Randolph shot and missed, that bullet hole could support your claim.
Yes, it could, but he didn't miss because he didn't shoot.
In other words, if somebody came in later, picked up Randolph's gun, fired the shot, and left taking the gun with him, it doesn't make sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yes, well, then why was the shot fired?
Well, with a gun in your hand and that shooting gallery in front of you, how could anybody resist?
We got to stick to what we know happened. Now, Harrington, you stand over there and get shot.
You mind if I say a few last words?
Go on and fall.
Oh, fall.
He's the careful type corpse. Is that where Randolph fell?
Approximately.
He could have struck his head against the pedestal.
Yes, but I don't think he did.
Harrington, did you send an order out to pick up Barotti?
I did.
Good. Well, I'll go back to the office and take care of the newspaper men.
What are you going to tell them?
That I don't think you did it.
Well, now, wait a minute, Craig. I shot him and he's dead. You can't go out on a limb for me with those two facts staring you in the face.
No, Steve, you only wounded him. And unless he struck his head when he fell, you're not responsible for his death. I've got a hunch that that cracked skull is no accident.
If you're wrong, I am the ex-investigator for the former DA.
Now, listen, boys. I've always said that I would never convict an innocent man or defend a guilty one. If that means anything, now's the time to prove it, regardless of what happens to me. Say, that speech is worth 10,000 votes, and here I wasted on a couple of dumb clucks like you. Come on, boys, let's go.
What are you doing here?
Are you alone?
Yes?
No servants.
No. Why did you come here?
I got no choice.
What are you talking about?
Listen, Marcia, the DA got me cold. I'm gonna take a vacation.
What's holding you up?
I gotta have dough.
I can let you have a few hundred. I'll get it.
Not so fast. And not so cheap. You forget, Marcia, you're gonna have maybe a couple of $1 million.
Maybe. And I'm going to keep it.
If you do, Steve gets the chair.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Jim had a gun. Steve shot in self-defense.
Yeah, but he can't prove it. Because when the police come, Barotti has the gun in his pocket.
You took that gun to frame Steve.
Oh, no, I took it so Barotti has something to sell. This gun is worth 50 grand, no? You'll have no trouble convincing the DA that Jim had this gun with him last night.
Why won't I?
Because there's a bullet in that cabinet in Jim's office. They can prove it came from this gun.
A bullet? How do you know that?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Last night I went up in the private elevator. Barotti is a careful fellow. Before I go into the office, I look through the little window in the door. I've seen some interesting things.
You saw what? Go in the library. There's a door there that leads to the hall. If you can get out that way.
I'll go in the library, but I don't go nowhere else until I get my dough. Whoever it is, get rid of him quick.
Get in there.
I'll be listening.
What do you want?
Some help. Are you interested in helping Steve out of a jam?
Of course.
Good. Steve claims that Randolph pulled a gun on him.
I know he did.
How do you know?
Well, he must have. I know Jim always keeps a gun on his desk.
It's disappeared.
How can I help?
By telling me where I can find Barotti. We know that Barotti was in that office last night. If that gun was taken, he took it.
I might be able to help you find him. I was in Barotti's office last night. He told Jim he was in trouble and leaving town.
Any clue to where he was going?
He did give Jim a confidential address. Jim promised he'd keep it in a safe place.
Where would that be?
You might look in his personal file at the office. I'll give you the keys. Here they are. I'll phone Jim's secretary and tell her to show you the file. You can go down there right away.
Tony's Delicatessen. Good morning.
Hello, Miss Stewart. Mr. Craig Warren is on his way down there to investigate Mr. Randolph's files.
All they'll find here, lady, is salami.
I've already given them the key. I just want to let you know it's all right.
Double-crossing Barotti, eh? Okay. Last night you offered me a deal. Today I got a deal to make to you.
Forget it, Barotti. I'm not making any deals with a murderer.
Murder? No, that's not true.
You came into that office last night, found Randolph wounded, finished him off with a blow on the head, and then took his gun to pin the rap on Steve Bennett.
Oh, no, it wasn't that way.
Well, then talk fast.
All right. Last night I take the private elevator upstairs, and I see a...
Go on.
Before I tell you, I want to know what you do for me.
Talk fast, Barotti. You're in no position to bargain.
Why not? You want to live, don't you?
He was going to kill you.
Your concern over me is rather sudden, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Barotti was just going to tell me a few things that I've been wanting to know.
You're inhuman. I saved your life and you try to twist it into a...
Get me Harrington. Harrington? Listen. I've got a lot of things I want you to do, and I want you to get them straight. First of all, call the homicide squad.
Yeah. Yeah? Okay. To Randolph's apartment. Right. She shot Barotti. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let me talk to him.
Right away. Just a minute, Chief.
What happened, Craig?
Call the homicide squad, honey.
Where are you going with the secret weapon?
To Randolph's apartment. Tell the boys to meet me there, but don't let Steve know I took these, huh?
Right.
Craig, I'd like to take care of this myself. Yes, I know it'll be tough, but, well, I think I finally got this thing licked. You understand what I'm getting at, don't you? How long will the homicide squad be? All right, I'll wait till then. And Craig, thanks.
Steve. I've been waiting for you.
I didn't realize I was expected.
I knew you'd come, Steve. You had to.
You forget. You're supposed to be the bereaved widow.
Certainly you don't expect me to weep over Jim. I found out what kind of a man he was, just as you did. He was crooked and vicious, and so was Barotti. I can't feel sorry they're gone. Let's forget what's happened, Steve. Let's talk about the future, about you and me.
At the moment, my future's a little complicated.
But you're free. Craig knows Barotti did it. Don't you see, darling, we didn't belong in this mess in the first place. Now that we're out of it, let's forget what's happened and start over again.
There's a couple of things I can't forget, Marcia.
Got it?
Quiet.
Don't you see, Steve? There are no obstacles left. We'll have everything we want.
No, thanks. Your plans worked out just fine for you, didn't they, Marcia?
I didn't plan it, Steve. But since it's worked out this way, why not take advantage of it? Darling, why are you so...
This is what I missed on Jim's desk. This statuette.
What are you getting on that thing? Track results?
No, but I'm winning a little bet on the statue.
That's the kind of horses I bet on. Statues.
Then how did it get here?
Jim brought it home.
It was on his desk last night, and last night he didn't come home. You killed him, Marcia.
I killed him?
Yes, you found him lying there wounded, and you killed him. Then you shot a bullet into the wall so I could plead self-defense. You figured that with him out of the way, you could have everything you wanted. Including me.
You're crazy.
You killed him with this. That's why you brought it from the office.
No, I didn't. Barotti must have brought it here. Yes. Yes, that's the other thing he had to...
To blackmail you with, Marcia? Oh, so Barotti knew you did it. That's why you shot him. I'll take that brandy now.
They're getting too far away from the mic.
And they'll be getting close to another one because I planted them all over the place.
Oh, good.
Tell me, Marcia, does this recall anything to you?
What do you mean?
Doesn't it remind you of another night that you came out here carrying a brandy, but to a man you knew was dead?
No, Steve, that's not true.
You're lying. Do you remember this diamond clip? You said you were inside when Jameson went over that wall, yet I found it underneath his body.
And you said nothing? All this time? Oh, Steve, darling, listen to me. If you love me that much...
Yes, I did love you that much.
Then that's all that matters, Steve. Nothing else makes any difference. Suppose I did get rid of Jameson. Suppose I did all the things you say I did. Why did I do them? Because I loved you.
Save it, Marcia. There was a time I might have listened to this. I was so in love with you that I was willing to hide this, even from myself.
Well, that about does it.
I know now what you are, Marcia. I know what's got to be done. We're going down to see Craig.
pretty tough, Steve. But maybe it's better this way.
Let me alone. I'm okay.
You've got to keep on fighting. Keep on working. You need that now as you've never needed it before. Come on back with me, Steve. Let's get going again. I'll work the pants off you. I'll bawl you out and call your names. You'll investigate all your own cases and plead most of mine. You won't get much sleep, and I'll run you so ragged you won't be able to call your soul your own. But if you can take it, someday I'll make a lawyer out of you.